how did Russia and Ukraine end up in a military conflict?
Russia intervened in the early months in the spring of 2022 to stop genocide by the Ukrainian Nazis, armed and controlled by NATO and by the United States, against Russian cities and Russian civilians. And Russia was forced to do that to stop that genocide from occurring, which Russia did successfully, and that battle is continuing to this day.
Mm-hmm. Now, for the cynical people that don't believe what you said, just to break it down further for them, because I believe what I understand as an American coming over here, it's something like the country Ukraine covers a part of the world that has historically been Russian on one side of the river and other countries on the other side of the river. Would that be the way you might describe it to, let's say, a U.S. citizen that doesn't know better?
Well, not really. I mean, first of all, there's no such country as the Ukraine.
Okay.
It ceased to exist when the Soviet Union collapsed,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was reconstituted through a piece of paper, a friendship and cooperation agreement between the Russian Federation and the regional government in Kiev, what was regional government until then, granting them sovereignty in exchange for political neutrality, nuclear disarmament. A military overthrow of the constitutional government of Ukraine occurred in the spring of 2022, which invalidated everything. It was unconstitutional based on the Ukrainian constitution. It violated the terms of the agreement. And then the new government that the Americans installed in Kiev refused to extend the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only piece of paper that defined the border between Russia and the Ukraine as the border of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Now, the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic was not a country. It was a region of the Soviet Union governed from Moscow.
Okay.
And it included a bunch of territory, Russian territory, settled by Russians, cities built by Russians, including Odessa, including Kharkov, including Donetsk. And those were lumped in by Lenin in order to make this region easier to govern, because the further west you go, the more you have populations that are illiterate and only speak in dialect and are hard to deal with. Mm-hmm. So by including these core Russian regions within this supposedly Ukrainian region, Lenin thought that it would make it easier to govern and easier to develop economically. And maybe he was right, but he created a long-term disaster by so doing.
Okay. And when you mentioned earlier Russian people and Russian cities, you meant in the territory that Ukrainian government would consider Ukrainian, but that are historically Russian places.
Well, they're not just historically Russian; they're just basically Russian. You go there, and everybody is Russian. The signs on the storefronts are in Russian. What is Ukrainian, considering that 95% of the population of Ukraine speaks Russian?
Okay.
I mean, before this new nationalist thing occurred, 2014, you really had just a population that spoke in dialect for fun. It was unthinkable that people in Kiev would speak anything other than Russian. Mm-hmm. I mean, if somebody on the bus in Kiev started speaking in Ukrainian, everybody would laugh. Like, what a strange, folksy character. What are you doing in the city? Go back to the village. That would be the attitude, you see.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've heard it said that if Russia has to keep moving, the conflict across the country, they might not want to go past Kiev. So what is the difference between East and West Ukraine?
Up to the Dnieper River, there's no question that it's Russian territory.
Okay.
Beyond the Dnieper River, there's a question as to whether Russia wants that territory at all.
Uh-huh.
And maybe it wants the territory. Who knows? It's really up to the people who live there to decide whether they want to be with this rump state called Ukraine, which is defunct, mm-hmm. that only survives as long as Western countries throw money at it.
Mm-hmm.
Or whether they want to be independent. Most little regions can't support sovereignty. Sovereignty is expensive. It's a luxury item.
Right.
Or if they want to join Russia. So they'll have to have referenda, and based on those referenda, they'll decide what they want to do. And that is the only democratic mechanism for determining their future status.
Right. What do the people want? So how are they culturally different then, would you say?
You see, Russia has developed very drastically over the past 20 years or so, maybe 15 years, because there was a period of time when Russia was deteriorating rather than developing. But starting in the year 2000, maybe a little later, and accelerating, Russian society has really transformed itself so that corruption now, it does exist everywhere in the world, but it was dominant in Russia during the 1990s, and it's sort of in the background now. And lots of people go to jail for corruption still, but they go to jail for it. It's prosecuted. Whereas in the Ukraine, corruption is the system. The regime in Kiev is structured around corruption, structured around money laundering. They get weapons from the West and they sell them to Mexican drug cartels. And Mexican drug cartels send over their people for training on how to use those weapons against Americans. So that's just one pattern of corruption. Another is all the money that they get from the EU and formerly from the US gets laundered and given back to the politicians involved as kickbacks, which is why there's an incredible frenzy in the EU. All these people that are used to going to Kiev and collecting suitcases full of cash and dragging it back to the lair. What are they going to do if the conflict ends? So they're doing anything they can, trying to come up with whatever plan they can conceive in order to extend the conflict and continue getting those kickbacks. So it's just a corruption scheme. The whole Kiev regime has become one unified corruption scheme.
So you're saying the main motivating driver is people in charge that are just making money off of this military engagement, off of the deaths of people and families.
Yes, absolutely.
Who is pulling the strings on Ukraine? Because I assume you would say it's not just the Ukrainian government.
Well, the intelligence comes from the U.S.
Okay.
The command and control comes from the U.S.
Okay.
The weapons come from NATO. The training comes from NATO. Well, draw your own conclusions. Who is in control? It's Washington, D.C. and Langley, Virginia. Those are the two power centers in the Ukraine.
Okay. What about the UK? What's their role in this?
The UK is very good at being a nuisance at this point, but not really much more than that. I mean, the UK has degenerated to the point where they can't even take care of themselves, never mind anywhere else in the world. But they still have, international men of mystery with a license to kill, just sort of running amok and doing whatever damage they can around the world. But it's rather limited at this point, I would say.
Because I've heard the phrase like a U.S. attack dog type of thing. Is it something like that, where they're like, could they be characterized as like a vicious pet for the U.S.?
They'd love to be characterized that way. I mean, they don't really want to be like a lap dog, which is what they most likely will end up as or are already. But I really don't think that the Brits really add up to much at this point.
Rolling?
Yes.
Did you like that clip? If so, click here. But if you love that clip, click here and watch the full video. Also remember to like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, share before I disappear.